Good morning. Yay! Good morning. Okay, please rise if you're willing and able for our morning song number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. Please remain standing while we recite our covenant, and our chalice is lit by our guest minister, Reverend Jones Sabatino. We covenant to embrace one another in community, to welcome all with an open heart and a generous spirit, to seek others with grace and patience, to speak our truths bravely and respectfully, and to create space for all to be heard, acknowledged, and valued. I invite you to turn and greet one another. I get to step down and shake hands. So welcome one and all in person and online to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. My name is Lisa Jacobs, and I'll be your worship associate today. I'm joined by Chrissy Bushager, our Director of Religious Education, and by Reverend Joan Sabatino of UU Justice PA. And Bill Clinton will be coming up in a little bit to give her bio, so I won't spoil his thunder. We're so excited to have Reverend Joan today, but like I said, that's for him to talk about. So welcome to everyone. No matter your age, your size, the color of your skin, you are welcome here. No matter how you came, if you came alone or with others, you are welcome here. No matter who you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. If you're joining us for the first time today, an extra welcome. We're so excited that you're here, and we hope you'll join us in the social hall, which is just all the way at the back, for coffee afterward. If you're interested in learning more about our church or UUism, one of our congregations from the newcomer team is available in the youth room, which is just to the right as you come out, after the service. And they'd be happy to talk to you. If you're joining us by Zoom, please remember you can turn on closed captions, and if you wish, you can stay after the service to participate in virtual coffee hour. Please remember to open the chat window to interact with other people. 2 pages. There we go. And now let us enter into community with these words by Lynn Harrison. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands, and minds. Embracing the interconnected web of water and air and earth, we light a fire of sustaining hope, ever brighter with love and justice. May we bring forth this new day wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but of well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks to this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care. Rising to the deep calls within us and around us, may we respond today and always with courage and love. Please remain seated for our centering song, A Meditation on Breathing. As Lee Ongiri writes, here we are together, each facing our different tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holder of each other's heartaches and tales alike, weavers of one story in which we all have our part. Each Sunday, we do a ritual where we drop stones representing our joys or our sorrows into a bowl of clear water. The ripples of our stones weave together the emotional life of our community. I invite you to come forward and drop a stone. If you're with us on Zoom, you can type your joy or concern in the comments. We drop a final stone for the joys and the sorrows and the concerns and the contentments left unsaid. Please remain seated as we sing Spirit of Life. So on this Social Justice Sunday, I'd like to share one of the hymns that we don't sing very much, but I like a lot as part of our offertory. But bear with me, it makes sense. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can build an arch, one by one, one by one, and by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. In 1969, Pete Seeger and Valdemar Hill created this song by combining an Irish folk song with a poem from the 1964 Union Journal of the American Miners Association. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none. Together in this church we turn mills. Reverend Sabatino is going to tell us about all the millstones that we as Unitarians are turning. But now, in our moment of offering, I suggest that another drop of water, a few dollars, helps us move our church forward so that we can do these social justice actions. Singly, none of us can do this, but together as a congregation we can. We gratefully receive our offering. You can either text to give with the number on the screen, or at the back of the sanctuary, there are wooden boxes where you can put a donation in. And I thank you all for your generosity.
Nope.
No, not yet. In a minute. Channel 2. Hello. Oh, there it is. So good morning again. So I have a true story to tell this morning. And my true story starts in 1968. That was a little over 50 years ago, and some of the people in this room were alive back then. Some of us were not quite alive yet. Bob is shaking his head no. Bob was not. Some of us were and some of us weren't. But in 1968, some farmers in Alabama were working in their fields when they heard an airplane flying overhead. It was one of those small airplanes, and it made one of those like high-pitched whirring noises that you sometimes hear small airplanes making, like kind of a whining noise. And so they looked up and they saw that the airplane was dropping something. Something was floating down to the ground, and it was papers. It was flyers. And they walked over, and the farmers picked up the flyers, and they saw that on these papers were pictures of people, and they were candidates. They were people who were running for political office. They were running for office in the state of Alabama. So these candidates had the pictures of the candidates and the offices they were running for, and they had little symbols of eagles next to their names. And it was a flyer for an election. So the man who was flying the airplane, his name was John L. Cashin. And he was flying this plane and he was dropping these leaflets because he wanted the farmers to vote for these candidates. These were the candidates that were supported by the National Democratic Party of Alabama, a party that John L. Cashin and some of his friends from the Unitarian Church in Huntsville, Alabama started. He wanted them to vote for these candidates because he knew that these candidates supported the same values of justice that he did. Now, was John Cashin just a pilot? No, he wasn't. He was also a dentist. He was a husband. He was a father. And he ran for mayor of Huntsville. And he lost. And a little bit later, he ran for governor of Alabama. And he lost again. He didn't expect to win. Why would he keep running for office if he didn't expect to win? Well, here's the thing. Back in Alabama in 1968, it was very unusual for African American people to run for office. John Cashin was an African American man. He was a black man. And almost no black people ran for office in Alabama at that time. That was because there were these unjust laws, sometimes called Jim Crow laws, that made it very hard for black people to register to vote. It also made it hard for black people to run for office at that time. So it was hard for John to be elected. So he didn't expect to win. But when John was 11 years old, he made a promise to himself that he was going to change that system, that he was going to work hard against this injustice. And that's what he did. So when he was an adult, he formed the National Democratic Party of Alabama, and he worked towards changing that injustice. So with some friends from the Unitarian Church of Huntsville and many others, he began to campaign. He began to build community. He believed in something called public witness. Public witness means if you see an injustice, you stand up and you speak out about it. You say what you believe. You say, hey, this is wrong. Hey, this is important. Hey, listen to me. I need to tell you about this. He believed in that, and that's what he did. So from the time that he was 11 years old, he started standing up. And every time his face was on a campaign poster, every time he made a campaign speech, he was fulfilling that promise that he made to himself. And you know what? It started to work. Slowly, over time, more and more African American candidates in Alabama were able to run for office. More and more were elected, starting in small elections for like council positions, judgeships. And over time, more and more people were able to register to vote through that working for community building that John Cashin started. John died in 2011, but his legacy lives on. His legacy lives on in anyone who continues that work of community building and of working towards voter rights and helping people run for office and helping people vote, just like John Cashin did. Thank you for listening to my story this morning. It is time for our children to go to their religious education classes. We will sing our sending song through 3 times. The first time we sing it all together. The second time our teachers will head into the lobby to meet their classes. And then the third time we sing it, our children will head out into the lobby. Reminder to parents, pick up from religious education is at 10:45. Thanks.
Thank you, choir. And good morning. Reverend Joan Sabatino served as minister of the First UU Church of Indiana, PA, for over 15 years. During that time, she and the congregation worked together to change their image in the community by being a consistent, legitimate voice for liberal religion in a small, conservative Western town. And during Joan's ministry there, the congregation grew. And then in June 2019, Joan retired from the ministry and became the director of UU Justice PA. She moved to Midtown Harrisburg, a short distance from the Capitol building, and became both our lobbyist and the director of UU Justice. In her 4 years at the Capitol, wearing the same bright yellow stole, she established her presence and connected with legislators who were seeking her progressive views. And yes, they were legislators seeking her progressive perspective. As our executive, she has grown the organization and deepened its connection to 30 UU congregations across the state. And this morning, Joan will present how we can increase the vote in Pennsylvania. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome Reverend Joan to our pulpit.
Thank you. So you'll make me remember how much I miss Sunday services. Is this good? Yeah. So thank you for inviting me to share worship with you this morning. I want to begin with a reading by Rebecca Ann Parker. Parker is ordained as both a Methodist and a Unitarian Universalist minister, and she served as the president of Star King School for the Ministry from 1990 until 2014. And the reading is entitled, In the Midst of a World. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who, with faith, rise and lead in freedom with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, or tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the waters, while their voices sing and speak refreshed worlds. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lively energy that articulates earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving companionship among human beings, whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion, draw water from old wells, and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with their God, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, reform, transform, and bless life. There must be religious witness. I love this reading, for it reminds me of Unitarian Universalists, our diversity of thought, opinion, and ways of contributing to the world around us. And I particularly resonate with the last line, there must be religious witness. At my age, I should retire. I should be sitting at home reading a book or reflecting on life or maybe writing my memoir. But my Unitarian Universalist faith calls me to do the work of justice in our capital in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, and to encourage Unitarian Universalists across Pennsylvania to join me in the work. I know from your website that your congregation, like other UU congregations across the state, offers members the opportunity to contribute to those in need in the larger community. I read about your hunger task force and the meals provided to the Upper Darby Life Center shelter and the Breaking Bread emergency shelter. I read about your work with the Media Food Bank. In addition, I read about your deep conversations that continue about racism and climate crisis in our world. And all of these actions are so valuable. But the work of UU Justice is a little different. We work to change the current legislation in our Commonwealth so that our values are infused in our PA government. We are living in very precarious times. But a look back in history reminds us that this is not the first time that our Constitution has been challenged. It has lived through several crises. And we have made some wrong decisions along the way and some bad choices along the way, but our form of government is the best that there is. And UU Justice PA believes that working with our legislators will get us through this crisis too. Our political system, both in Congress and in our Commonwealth, is broken. We must embrace the reality that saving democracy, living democracy, engaging in democracy is the only way to save our democracy, and it's the only way our democracy will survive. As director of UU Justice PA, I walk through our opulent Capitol building regularly. As Bill said, they know who I am. It was a major decision as to what I would wear when I first got the job. Now, people do recognize me and know that I'm doing ministry when I'm in the Capitol, and it's also a shield in many ways for me personally against some of the corruption and infighting, et cetera, in the Capitol. Just this year, I have, along with a dozen or so other UUs from as far away as Pittsburgh, participated in a rally with March on Harrisburg to end corruption in Pennsylvania. People out, money in. That's their mantra. Also, along with 36 Pennsylvanians, 2 other UUs, and 1 Unitarian Universalist legislator, Paul Takak from Center County, Representative Paul Takak, we participated in quoting from the court ruling that stated clearly that our educational system in Pennsylvania is unconstitutional and must be fixed. What sort of future can we expect if we are not educating our children? Our children can be taught to see the world through love or hate and divisiveness. Which will we choose? I take a sip of water. So a brief lesson for those who may not be aware. Our legislature runs in 2-year sessions. So this session began in January 2023 and will end in December 2024. So during the second quarter of this legislative session, fall of 2023, our House Judiciary Committee got unstuck for the first time in over 12 years. During the previous 12 years, the Republicans had been in charge of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. I am not promoting one political party or another. I'm just stating a fact. The Republicans held the majority, so they were in charge. And no criminal justice reform or gun violence prevention legislation was advanced. This fall, with a 1-seat majority and control of the committees in the House and the Senate, the House Judiciary Committee passed dozens of reforms to begin to dismantle the dysfunctional prison system that we live with. So this should be good news, right? 12 bills passed out of the House. Well, here's the way it happens. They pass out of the House, goes to the Senate decides which committee it belongs in, most often the Senate Judiciary Committee, and there it sits. And it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere at all. until we change the people who are working the system. So these criminal justice reform bills, they make changes to how a person is held in solitary confinement, provides for feminine hygiene products for incarcerated women, allows women to be out of shackles when they're incarcerated and giving birth, provides for geriatric care for Black men who have been sent to prison, who have spent decades in prison for drug violations that possibly could soon be legal. I can go on, but the point is our political system is broken, and I am convinced there is no way to fix it except through the ballot box, and that's where you all come in. When I started this work 4.5 years ago, I encouraged all UUs in Pennsylvania to do one thing. Get up off the couch and do one thing to promote justice in our state, in our Commonwealth, excuse me. Now I say that is not enough. We must be strategic. We must work together with our partners, other organizations, to elect legislators who believe in our values. Our UU Justice mission is to promote justice by voting, advocating, and making just public policy. And I want to unpack that just quickly for you. I'm delighted to tell you that the UU The Vote national office is doing things differently this cycle. In the past 2 voting cycles, they gave us money to hire an organizer. The first organizer we hired was a UU ordained minister, and they were great. So great that they now work for the UU The Vote national as an organizer. But they did not know Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a big state, right? You try to drive from one side to the other. It takes you several hours. And there's a lot of difference between what goes on in Philadelphia versus the middle of the state versus Pittsburgh, Erie. You know, it's like several different states within one state. Honestly, it is. So the next organizer we hired, I was adamant, we're hiring someone who knows Pennsylvania and has done advocacy work in Pennsylvania. And the person we hired was New Pennsylvania, particularly small town, rural Northeast Pennsylvania. And I thought this was great, but they did not know UU. Familiar with traditional Protestant congregations, our congregational polity, the diverse cultures and ways of doing things across our 37 PA congregations, she just did not get it. She was just like, what? You have to have a different system in each congregation? I said, yeah, that's the way it is for us. That's the way it is. It's got its positives and negatives, right? This cycle, we are all doing things differently. The resources are still there from the UUA: financial, training, phone and text banks, vote forward letter writing, and our UU Justice PA ongoing postcard initiative. But this cycle, the question from the UUA to me as the Pennsylvania State Action Network Director was, who are your partners, who can you work with, and how can we help? So now that I'm reaching out to our 30+ congregations, asking you all, what is going on in your community regarding reproductive justice and LGBTQIA+ initiatives? What's happening with your school boards? How about pipelines? Do they go through Delaware County? Other environmental initiatives that you support or oppose? What is happening in your election sites? And how can we help? We must work together. This is not a single-person initiative. We worked for advocacy, the second arm of our UU Justice PA mission. We, UU Justice PA, will continue to organize citizen advocacy days around our issues. Coming up, scheduled tomorrow, CADB, Coalition Against Death by Incarceration. Right? The pipeline, Philadelphia schools to the prisons in rural Pennsylvania. You know the rest of the story. We will also be together on May 7th for gun violence prevention, and on May 8th for equitable education. And we will postcard on these issues throughout April and May. If you are not on our email list, get on it. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and at least you know what opportunities we provide for advocating for justice, for legislation that embraces our UU values. I have found that our Pennsylvania UUs get excited about being in Harrisburg, in the Capitol. We got an example right here in the front row, these three people, right? And Martis. But there's other congregations too. People just say, yay, we're all here, right? For the gun violence prevention, we started out 3 years ago. There were 8 people who came to the Capitol with Ceasefire PA to advocate for gun violence prevention legislation. Last year we had 21, the second year we had 21, and last year we had 41. In 3 years, we've encouraged that many more people to come to Harrisburg. And it's like we're on a road trip from school. We're getting on the bus, and we're going to get to the Capitol. We're going to have a box lunch, and it's all quite exciting. But you can and should do your advocacy work in your local community, your local borough council, your city council, your school board, the local office of your state senator and state house representative. Get to know them, and they need to get to know you. When you are walking through the halls of the Capitol and your legislator, your House of Representative person, or your senator, or someone from their office recognizes you and says hello, it's a great feeling, right? And you know that you are working for democracy, and they know you are. So the third wing of our mission is to promote just public policies. And we promote that by the concept that all of us, during our lifetimes, when it is appropriate for you and your family, you serve, right? You serve on a school board, a borough council, a county commissioner, or as a state representative or senator. And I know there are people in this room who have served throughout their lifetime. Our values are important to our communities, our congregations, and to our Pennsylvania legislature. So what are these values? I'm sure you've seen the new Article 2 of our bylaws. Have you done that here in this congregation, right? So the center, the flaming chalice of love, and then the what looks to me like a flower, petals, right, around, that honor our interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. I think it's great. It's moving us forward into this century. My sadness is that we no longer have the word democracy in our principles, which we did have, right? And not many religions in this world have the word democracy in their principles, and we do. Doing democracy, living democracy, is part of who we are as UUs, and we need to share that message with the larger community. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, I come to church for community, for a respite from the crazy world. And I agree. But this is one of those times when we must embrace all of who we are as Unitarian Universalists. Our values are imperative to the future we want for our children. We must support each other, ground each other in our UU spirituality, and be giving out into the world giving the world voice to our issues. And now a little personal. I have 2, almost 3 granddaughters. They were born 3 weeks apart. My 2 daughters gave birth 3 weeks apart. It's a little crazy for me, but anyway. And grandchild number 3 is on the way. He's a boy, he'll be our first boy, and he's due by the end of May. What their future is matters to me, right? If we don't fix our government, Will my grandchildren, each of them born to 2 moms, will they be safe? What will they learn in school? Our values, or values based in fear, which lead to hate and exclusion? Will they be able to exist on this earth? The Pennsylvania Constitution mandates our government provide clean air and water. Do they? Will they? What happens at the ballot box in November matters. We cannot be spectators. Our faith and our values call us to be active. I have to believe that the good guy, no matter how old he is going to win. But we, UU Justice PA, will join with our partners, get out the vote, learn how to talk to our neighbors, maybe even the other side neighbors, and learn how to, some of us have to do a lot of work to talk to our family members, right? Who we don't talk about politics or religion at the Thanksgiving dinner table, but you know, we have to start talking to the other side. Not to convince them, but to all get along in a peaceful world, right, without violence. We have several bad actors in Pennsylvania. My congressman, Scott Perry, has been accused of being involved in the planning of the January 6th insurrection. Another Pennsylvanian ran for public office, thank goodness didn't win, and is a self-proclaimed white supremacist. He took a proud photo of himself outside of the Capitol on January 6th, proud to be there, proud to be part of the effort to break down our government. I suggest we don't vote for anyone in this election. Ask everyone you vote for who won the 2020 presidential election. Make sure that they understand what that means. There are elected legislatures in our government who will not give you a straight answer on that question. They will say, "No, I'm not really sure what happened. It's all very confusing," indicating that they don't trust the system and they're not going to trust it again in 2024. So we can't just sit back. We have to push back against that and say, "I will not give you my vote. I'm not going to change your mind. That's what you think? Fine. You will not get my vote." So we have lots of work to do. Join UU Justice PA. It's free. We ask for money because we can't do the work without it. Organized money and organized people lead to power, or at least a voice. But what we are really about is working for justice by voting, advocating, and making just public policy. Live your UU values. Let your voice be heard. Join us in the work. Thank you. I like this, nice.
So surprise, surprise, we had planned to have a personal reflection by myself after it, focusing on the voting initiative of UU Justice, and that got left off the program, so here I am, surprise, surprise. Would everybody pull out the insert to your order of service, which... Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Joan set the context, and the question becomes, what can I do? What can we do to affect this critical thing, which is called the election in the 2024 cycle? So we as an organization, UU Justice, have researched different organizations and partnered with what we think will be the most powerful for us. So the first is phone banking with supermajority, letter writing with Vote Forward, serving as a paid inside election board member, and we've got 7 members of our congregation that already serve in this role, and we believe that we know in the county there's a need for more. All right, and then rallying your friends and family, as Joan said, to vote. And this is an organization, Red, Wine, and Blue, that has a very compelling story to tell. Now, what what we're trying to do is encourage people to take these individual actions, but then come together and work together to understand what the feedback is and what their experience is and how they can continue to move forward. And we're not going to start this 2 weeks before the election. Our hope is to start this in the month of May, that's right, next month, and be able to sustain it over the 6 months that it will be needed before the election. So the second part of this insert says that there is activism that you can do not on behalf or as a member of UUCDC, but these things you can do on your own. There are other ways to be involved as an individual, not a member of our church, and they include individual groups in Delco and federal, state, and local political campaigns. So you, as a member, and we can give you the contacts as to where all these campaigns are going on, can join in those campaigns. And I know many of you are already. So what I'd like to do is just reflect for a minute. Last week, Sharon Fichtorn described the Media Food Bank team that she has, and just as importantly, why she is committed to do this work. I'd like to follow her example and offer my own reflections. We just reviewed what we were planning to do with UU the Vote. Being a UU is important to me. It helps me define who I want to be in my community. None of this work is easy, but being committed to this work brings purpose and satisfaction to my life. When things change for the better, as I believe they have in Delaware County with all of the change, I am hopeful for the future. Now, still, there is a lot of work to be done, and we know that in this county, there is a great disparity of wealth, income, and opportunities. So, as Sharon noted in her presentation, 10% of the county's population lives below the poverty line. 15% of the children in this county under 18 live in poverty. There are 43,000 people in this county that are food insecure. So in addition to providing, as Joan says, food to those who are hungry, we need to work for systemic change that will include all members of our community: government, business, all of the nonprofits that are working, and also, as Joan has indicated, communities of faith. We need to be there working with the rest of the community. So voting and getting people elected who share our values of justice and equity is one of the most important and effective ways we can affect systemic change that will help heal our community. So I encourage you to volunteer for one of these activities on the sheet that you've got in front of you, and we've actually got people carrying some clipboards around that can take your name and the activity that you're particularly interested in. So I would like to encourage this congregation to have a full-throated involvement in the upcoming campaign, because that is what is needed. Thank you for listening to my reflection.
Let's sing.
Gotta stand up for this one, friends, if you can, as you're able. you do it. Is there words that you all recite? Yes. Oh, they're there, okay. With faith in the creative powers of life, with hope for the future of life in this world, with love for all others who share this world with us, let us go forward together in peace. Our meeting has ended. Let our service begin. So go in peace, friends. Travel lightly on this earth. Never lose your passion for peace and social justice, and may your Unitarian Universalist values guide you in your day-to-day living. Amen. Blessed be.